Good evening. Hope everybody's doing all right. A heck of a day in news. I've got quite a few links open, but I had something I wanted to discuss before we got involved in the news, obviously by the title. So as of lately, there has been a plethora of videos, prepper videos, talking about, going out, getting your physical fitness, all of this stuff. And while I'm not going to say anything against doing that, if you are capable, yes, you should be doing it. Absolutely. But I feel like there is a fairly large group of people that are being completely left out of the conversation. And I'm not real cool with that. And there's been a ton of videos. One of them, another one came out today. I'm not going to call the channel out, but I will call them Bear Jr. Not as an insult towards Bear Independent, but I swear if Bear did a video sitting on a toilet with a plate carrier on, this person would make one within a couple of days. It's ridiculous. But there are a fair amount of people in our society that are disabled, whether it be, a serious disability or something a little more minor. And it's something that, like I say, it often gets overlooked, and we keep hearing all these videos about getting out and doing your ruck and all this stuff. Some people can't do that. Some people just absolutely can't do that. So, my message to individuals like that is don't count yourself out. See, I think that preppers largely have this fantasy of violence. And so, a lot of times, and maybe it's because of the cool factor or the sexiness of firearms and plate carriers and all of that stuff. Maybe it makes them feel a little more macho. I don't know. And that's fine. If you're, if you think that that's all you need to survive SHTF, well, whatever. I would hope that you have not put yourself in a situation to where you're going to have World War III out your front door every day after things get sticky. That would be number one. Don't be somewhere where it's going to be nonstop stupid the entire time. My thing started, I started buffering on my side. Sorry, I was watching it. I don't think that we're going to be involved in nonstop battles. I don't think it's anything even remotely like that. I do think there are going to be some very, very ugly moments for pretty much each and every one of us, and I think we need to be well prepared for that. But this fantasy that we're going to be hiking through the woods for 20 miles to go somewhere where we don't have pre-planned, I don't get it. I don't get it. A lot of these folks are talking about taking these huge far rucks as if every single person is going to have to do that. And it's just going to be madness and wild violence the entire time, all the time. That's not the case. It's just not. Again, there will be rough moments, and you have to damn well be prepared for that. But whether or not you can ruck 10 miles isn't going to make a difference. I mean, yeah, I could see where that could be argued, but if you're, say you're sheltering in, bunkering in, right? Whatever you want to call it. As long as you have all of your entry points, windows, doors, all of that, as long as you've got that all squared away and ways to defend those efficiently, ways to keep an eye on the, as long as you're properly secured, I don't think you're going to have to worry too much. I'm not saying you won't have issues. What I'm saying is, if you're set up correctly, it doesn't matter whether you can ruck 10, 20 miles or not. If you're set up correctly, you shouldn't be having to ruck 20 miles in a circle around your house in order to defend it. Again, we are not talking about this being a non-stop battle from the moment SHTF starts until your last breath. It isn't going to be, I hope it isn't going to be a battle. Of course, obviously, for some people, I'm sure it will be. For the poor, unfortunate souls that those are, I would say they probably would be in the cities, major cities. But there is going to be a whole lot of peacetime. I hope. And I would hope that that's what you want. I see a lot of channels that talk about their, more or less their area and, how they're going to defend their area. And you know what I don't see a whole lot of? I don't see a whole lot of channels that actually talk about really honestly dealing with people in a real manner, not this macho, come up to my gate and I'm gonna... No. I hope you don't act like that to every single person that you come across after things go crazy. That is not a good way to go about things. If you go about things with a Rambo mindset, with every single person that you come across, you're gonna get Rambo'd. And I don't care if you can ruck 20 miles or not, somebody's gonna Rambo your ass. What's that old saying about societies being armed? An armed society is a polite society. You don't think by chance that people may actually, in many cases, be a little more respectful and polite than they are right now today? Because I do. I do. Because I think, real quick, a whole lot of people are going to be reminded of the importance of other people. Yeah, exercise. Absolutely. But if you're disabled, let me give you an example. Right? I know a guy that's in a club. We'll say it this way. I know a guy that's in a club, in a wheelchair. Right? In a wheelchair. Cannot walk. At all. Not one step. Incredible. Incredible gunsmith. Absolutely incredible. He can do magic. He can also, pardon my way of phrasing this, but shoot the nuts off a gnat at 50 yards. But he can't walk. And I would imagine, I'd have to ask him to confirm, but I'm pretty sure he couldn't ruck. But it doesn't mean that he's useless. It doesn't mean that he's worthless. It doesn't mean that there's not a spot there for him, because, oh my goodness, yes, there is. I really do think that this needs to be talked about more by the actual prep. We're not even a prepper channel. But I do try to intermix that in with this channel because I don't want to just give you the problems. I want to hopefully bring some solutions to the table too. That's what I'm really here for, is the solutions. to bring the truth about the problems and hopefully come up with some solutions. Not to fix everything, because I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that that's within our capability. But to try to survive it and make the best of it that we can. That's all we can do. But I think this is something that we need to start talking about more often. And I think that there's a large group of people that are really being left out of the discussion because everybody wants to talk about the badass stuff. Well, you know what? The badass stuff isn't going to battle. That's not fun. That's not sexy. That's not ideal. And I think that far too much time is spent on rucking that 20 miles than something. You know how when you went to school, like high school, how they taught you things that you've never applied to a single moment in your life? Yeah. I hope that several people experience that after SHTF when it comes to violence. And I think some will. Again, I'm not trying to cherry coat or paint a pretty picture on the way things are going to be, because it's going to be horrific. Especially in the large cities and stuff. It's going to be horrific. But I think for a fair amount of people, I can't say the large majority, because obviously the large majority of the people live in the cities, and I don't know what to tell them. But for a lot of the rest of the country that live either in rural or smaller towns like we live in, I don't think it's going to be that bad. You're not going to have just non-stop, every second violence on the streets. For one, I'm telling you, there's a lot of good people here. There's a lot of good people here, and I'm confident that the good people here aren't going to have a bunch of nonsense. And that's always a factor to consider. Especially if you live in a town. You have to have a feel for the town. You have to know what the town's about, right? There's other towns that, within 30 miles of here that ain't no way I'd want to be anywhere near them. Not tonight, no less after SHTF. I wouldn't want to be there right now. Probably wouldn't be the most healthiest move I made. But where we're at isn't like that. Not even remotely. Which brings to the question of, well, what happens when people in those types of areas move to this type of area? Again, I think that a lot of preppers really fantasize about violence. That is absolutely going to happen. That is why it is absolutely imperative. See, I would say the larger majority of us live in some type of a town. I would say most people, on average, don't live out in the country, out in the sticks. Most of us live in some type of town, even if it's a small town or whatever. You need to get the mindset that you need to work with those other people in your town. You're going to have to. You can't 100% completely avoid them, because they will unavoid you, for one. And number two, you may need them. And quite frankly, they may need you. So, again, it's not going to be, this isn't a King of the Hill type of thing. I hope not. I would hope not. There's absolutely going to be violence. There's absolutely moments that you're going to have to be able to take care of yourself, to protect yourself. Without a doubt. But don't let the channels, get you down that make it sound like you have to be able to bench press 500 pounds 10 times and run 100 miles. Oh, you're going to die after SHT. No. There are so many things. No secret. You've been coming around here for a while. I don't have teeth. I've got 2 teeth. That's why I talk with like this lisp. I don't really have a lisp. I don't have teeth. So, I've heard a number of times, people make the comment, well, you got to get that taken care of or else, that's going to kill you. Oh, yeah? I'm not saying it couldn't. I'm not saying it won't. But what I will say is I'm not the only cat that's had bad teeth and lived out whatever their miserable life with bad teeth without dying from an abscess. Okay, I'm not saying I like it. I would love to be able to do something about the problem, but I can't. This is America. This is what it is. I can't. Doesn't matter all the years I worked, how hard I worked, or anything else. All because I don't have the proper type of insurance or paperwork or whatever right at this particular moment in my life. Well, just screw you. Even though you know what? Even with the insurance I had, I never used it. And I've paid for insurance for a fair portion of my life at different companies. I've paid my portion of it, right? Never used it. Now I could use it. Ain't that a trip? You would think that something like that, they could just associate it to your Social Security number and something like that could follow you. But nope, that's not the way a system like ours works. But that's a different subject for a different time. But there's a lot of people that would tell me that oh, that's going to kill you. Not necessarily. A lot of people, especially back during revolutionary times, and George Washington had wooden teeth, right? Kind of my hope is, maybe somebody someday give me wooden teeth or something. But anyway, don't count yourself out, no matter what it is, no matter what your disability is. And even if you're somebody that's sitting there that don't necessarily have a skill, there's got to be something something that you can add, and put on the table to be able to help. Maybe that something's just keep an eye on the kids, whatever. But don't count yourself out. And I really hope that prepper channels kind of open up a little bit and talk about these other types of roles and stop letting people feel left out because they can't go ruck 20 miles. That's ridiculous. Live by the sword, die by the sword. If that's how you're going to approach hard times, is that you're just going to approach it with a hammer, and that's pretty much all you're going to be prepared to do, you're going to find a bigger hammer. At some point, you are going to find a bigger hammer. Anyway, man, it's crazy. Hang on, seeing what, okay. Don't know anything more to say on that. Just don't give up. Learn to adapt. If there's stuff you can be learning right now to help you help others, then do so. As hard and much as you can right now. Start learning. Start doing everything you can. The most important thing after SHTF is what you're going to be able to bring to the table. And they're going to have plenty of warriors. They're going to have plenty of warriors. If you're not a warrior for whatever your circumstances, that's fine. Just polish up whatever it is that you are good at. And if you're not good at anything, if for whatever reason you don't have skills, you don't have experience, be open to learn. Most important thing, be open to learn. Don't make other people's lives harder by just trying to help you so you can in turn help them. Because that is a thing. Like I say, other than that, I don't know. It's just something we need to really start talking about more often. I'm going to go ahead and cut on over to this stuff I've got open here. Well, I didn't mean to have Google there, but whatever. Because I've got quite a few different things open here. I've got stuff, wait a minute. Put that in the wrong place, sorry. One second. I know, it's exciting for you. I'm trying to see what's what. Okay. I think that'll work. Whatever. So, kind of two subjects for the most part. It's going to be COVID and the stuff going on with Russia and Ukraine and all of that stuff. I mean, that is what's going on. I mean, I can tell you all the other stuff that really, in all reality, has a little impact with us, but, it's all the buzz right now. I can tell you about Ghislaine Maxwell and what's going on and the Twitter account that was, suspended, but does that really have a big impact on your life? Will it have a big... Not really. And you know what? Epstein didn't kill himself. And I won't even guarantee you that he's dead. But it is what it is. Alright. As you see right in front of you here, Pfizer already coming out and saying 2 jabs is not enough against Omicron. Now, mind you, we've been told that from preliminary reports or what have you that this doesn't seem to be quite as bad as far as symptoms. We gotta push this more. This is ridiculous. Hang on, I do have another one. I need to probably add this to the end of our little talk here about this particular subject. 1 second. Almost got it shared. I try to keep up with those, otherwise I'll get slammed with them and it's a nightmare. I believe right there it should go. Okay. Sorry. So, obviously they're pushing the boosters now. 2 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech jab might not be enough to protect people against the COVID-19 Omicron strain, the U.S. pharma giant said, citing its own study and adding that one more booster shot could still do the trick. Just one more, right? Just 15 jabs to slow the spread. Wait, that was days? No, we meant jabs. 15 jabs. It's, yeah. The Obama Academy vaccinated child without consent, a mother claims. And there's actually, as you know, or you may not know, states that are trying to make that a thing, to where the kids can go to school, and I don't know if it's already been made a thing, but I know it's been talked about where kids can go to school, they can get a jab, the parents don't even have to be notified or anything, and it's, yeah. So this here says a California mother is claiming that Los Angeles Barack Obama Global Prep Academy gave her son a COVID-19 vaccine without her consent, bribing the child with incentives like pizza. The lady that gave him the shot and signed the paper told my son, "Please don't say anything. I don't want to get in trouble." Maribel Duarte told NBC Los Angeles this week. Her 13-year-old son attends the school. Duarte said she discovered her son had a vaccination card one day showing he'd received 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine without her being informed. Los Angeles schools have mandated that all students aged 12 and older be vaccinated by January 10th. Duarte said she is vaccinated, but she wanted to refrain from getting her son vaccinated as he has asthma and allergy issues. A spokesperson for the district did not confirm the incident with Duarte's son, but confirmed that incentives are being offered to students who get jabbed at school. The program through which these incentives are offered is called the Safe Schools to Safe Steps Incentive Program. How do you like that? Which offers rewards to families who upload proof of their vaccine, have an approved medical exemption, or have conditional admissions. Right? This is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. How much further can they go? Is my question. How much further can they go? And to me, I just don't follow the society. I don't get it, because in my opinion they are way out of line. Way out of line. And other than this child's mother, and, oh, yeah, let's not forget, Ted Cruz blasted the accusations as appalling. Well, that is really going to provide a lot of help, right? I mean, what's going to be done about it? The truth? Not a damn thing. Oh, there might be a lawsuit or something like that, but what's that change? What's that change? They're going after the kids. Not just going after, they're getting the kids. What are we waiting for? I mean, and I'm not saying, oh, storm, you know, I'm not saying that. There doesn't have to be violence. If enough people got off their asses and did something, all you would have to do is amass people. Because that's what opens eyes. You see thousands of people standing there. All of a sudden you get a little bit of different attitude about things. I don't get it. I don't get it. BLM can amass thousands of people and do all the crap that they do. We can't. I'm not saying do all the crap that they do, but we can't amass a bunch of people and meet somewhere. I mean, like, on a serious level. I'm not talking about one of these bullshit rallies. I'm talking about on a serious level. How come the left can organize like that, but, and I'm sorry, I have to throw left-right paradigm in here, but how come the left can organize stuff like that and pull it off, but the right, they don't know how or something? They're getting away with it because we are letting them. I don't know how else to put it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to make excuses for it. I'm not going to lie. They are doing what they're doing because they can and because we are letting them. Anyway, here's, in my opinion, kind of a hopeful headline. Americans leaving their jobs in almost record levels, right? Now, the article here, you go through it, you read it. I'm not going to go deep into it because I've already been jabbering. But, it goes on, it blames everything except... what do you think that it doesn't blame? So, yeah. It doesn't blame mandatory vaccines or anything like that. I don't think at all. I don't think it even mentions that whatsoever. And I find that kind of interesting. Why would they leave out that factor? I don't know. But, yeah. That's the thing. Bill Gates, I thought this was kind of, if you will, humorous. Bill Gates predicts pandemic end date. The man's a genius, right? He says the acute phase of the COVID-19 pandemic will end in 2022. Billionaire Microsoft founder and vaccine enthusiast. He's an enthusiast of vaccines. Bill Gates has predicted on his blog, also deeming the rise of the Omicron variant concerning. He said, and I quote, "It might be foolish to make another prediction, but I think the acute phase of the pandemic will come to a close sometime in 2022. I gotta hang the big old no shit Sherlock sign up right there because Omicron that you're trying to be ominous about right now looks to be a dud. It looks to be, and I'm not saying a dud is in it won't infect people. I'm not saying a dud is in, it won't do what it does. What I'm saying is it doesn't appear that the symptoms are even remotely like the symptoms of all the other variants. And in that case, actually the good news is that it is very transmissible because that means that the, what do they call that? I've got a brain fart now. Herd immunity is going to build up really quick. Really quick. I mean, if the initial, what we're seeing, what I'm hearing, if this holds out to be true and remains to be true, this Omicron variant's good news. And I honestly think that's why Bill Gates has this prediction, right? But they're going to tell you that everybody's going to have to get the jab to get there. That's the only way that we're going to actually be able to get there. Oh, you don't think that he's saying we don't need to worry about it at all anymore, are you? Don't forget, he's a vaccine enthusiast. So, there's that. 500 school staff were fired for declining the COVID jab. Once again, Los Angeles. Nearly 500 public school employees in Los Angeles were fired after refusing to comply with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, with the city making terminations permanent after previously suspending a number of workers. The board of the LA Unified School District voted 7-0 to cancel 496 employee contracts on Tuesday, according to the Associated Press, after they missed a deadline to become fully immunized by November 15th. Those who declined took their first dose in mid-October had previously been placed on leave. Parting ways with individuals who choose not to be vaccinated is an extremely difficult but necessary decision to ensure the safety of all in our school communities, Interim District Superintendent Megan Riley said after the vote. We wish everyone the best in their future endeavors and encourage everyone to get vaccinated. Though most of the fired employees were non-credentialed staff, some served in critical roles, including custodians, cafeteria workers, and teachers' aides, among other positions. So, yeah. It's a crazy spectrum here, you know? You got kids being jabbed without parental consent. You've got, employees of the school that are getting fired. For what? I'm still asking for what? I mean, at this point, it's crazy. And then, you got this nonsense. This one's New York. At least it's not LA, right? Like it matters. Judge orders 11-year-old girl to be vaccinated despite father's objections. Now, this has to do with the child custody case. This here says a New York judge has ruled that an 11-year-old girl may be vaccinated against COVID-19 despite vocal protests from her dad, siding with the child's mother amid a lengthy divorce case while claiming the virus poses a dire threat. Monroe County Supreme Court Justice Richard Dollinger ruled against the father, Donald Pfizer, in a decision last week, saying his daughter, Jeannie, may be immunized against his wishes at the direction of her mother, who he divorced in 2012. Though the court described Pfizer as an accomplished scientist and professor at a local college, it rejected his concerns about the vaccines outright, insisting that it was not reasonable to expect certainty about their safety or effectiveness. Huh? Let me say that again. Insisting that it was not reasonable to expect certainty about their safety and effectiveness. And it says waiting to be sure, as the father asks, is simply untenable while the specter of a killing or incapacitating disease is swirling in the environment surrounding this young girl, the judge said in his ruling, adding that the scientific certainty that the father seeks about complications from the vaccine was not a legitimate standard. Okay. So, I mean, I have to know, is there something about this child that makes this child extremely, and I mean extremely, high risk? That's my only question. And if that answer is no, then the chances of getting harmed, I can't say it. I can't say it. I'll probably get in trouble. You know what I was going to say. This, again, this is our kids. And this father did everything I'm sure that he could. This is getting ridiculous. And then, right, I think I'm on the last one for COVID. I know you're probably COVID and vaccine to death, and I'm sorry for that. Come on, it's only been 2 years. Just 15 jabs to stop the spread, remember? Well, you see the headline. Disclosing Pfizer vaccine data may take until 2096. I mean, you weren't expecting to be able to see it, were you? Were you? Says here the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is cooperating with a Freedom of Information Act request for clinical data associated with Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, but may require 75 years to do so, even longer than a prior estimate. The FDA has insisted it cannot commit to a faster release of the medical data associated with the approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech corona vaccine because not everyone will necessarily... No, I can't say that. It's going to be a joke. According to a legal brief filed on Tuesday in response to the FOIA request. The agency reiterated that after processing 12,000 pages in about a 2-month period, it will only be able to process 500 pages per month going forward. Only 500 pages, right? All right. But how many pages of crapola can they shoot out in 2 weeks to be able to get stuff authorized? With tens of thousands of additional files up for review, plaintiffs fear the process may drag on 2 decades longer than the previous 55-year estimate. As if that was any better. Lawyer Aaron Series sued the FDA on behalf of the group of doctors calling themselves public health and medical professionals for transparency, who had previously complained that the FDA wasn't supplying the data they had requested in a timely fashion. Having pointed out last month that the FDA had looked through Pfizer's documents in a mere 108 days in order to license the vaccine, Siri questioned why the agency now required a whopping 20,000 days to make the same documents public. You would think that stuff like that would really raise alarm bells. Approximately 451,000 pages regarding the clinical trials for a vaccine millions of Americans are being mandated to take will remain floating in legal limbo for up to 75 years if the agency has its way, Siri warned. He called it dystopian for the government to pay Pfizer billions of dollars, shield it from lawsuits, and require citizens to be injected with this product only to refuse access to the documents used to grant its licensure in the first place. The that says it, right? The FDA has justified the unusual timetable by pointing out its Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, the body tasked with reviewing the records, only has 10 staffers, 2 of whom are new. The FDA also complained that stepping up the pace would divert significant resources away from the processing of other FOIA requests that are also in litigation. Well, how about creating some jobs, right? The government never has a problem expanding and creating jobs, right? Why can't you hire a few more people, right? You're always looking for an excusing or a reason excusing. We'll call it an excusing to blow up and make yourself bigger. Well, hire some more staffers so that you can flip through some papers a little quicker. None of this makes sense. They can't make it public. It takes that long for them to click. Oh, there. Yep. Okay. There you go. The PDF's online now. Go ahead, read it. Are you kidding me? Do they actually expect me to believe that all of this data, 100% of it, is only on paper? That's not in digital format or anything like that. You can't just go click. There you go. Takes 75 years to go click, huh? 15 jabs to stop the spread. That's all. U.S. Okay, we're changing subjects. Is that okay? Okay. You either laugh, you cry, you flip. I don't know. I'll try to keep laughing. U.S. considers cutting off Russia from global financial system, says Newland. So this is clearly the SWIFT system. We'll go ahead and read what it says here. The U.S. State Department, along with America's allies in Europe, is considering the possibility of completely isolating Russia from the global financial system if it attempts to invade Ukraine, it revealed on Tuesday. Speaking to the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Under Secretary of State Victoria Nuland explored possible ways that Washington could punish Moscow for any military incursion. What we are talking about would amount to essentially isolating Russia completely from the global financial system, with all that fallout that would entail for Russian businesses, for the Russian people, for their ability to work and travel and trade, Nuland said. I want to stop. I made a comment about how Jake Sullivan, I think's his name, said something about, the kind of, in effect, a threat, if you want fuel or whatever to flow through that pipeline, you won't invade, more or less, right? Nord Stream 2, obviously, is what I'm referring to. And my comment was, they're not going to be concerned about exporting fuel if they're in the middle of conflict. Well, the same goes true with doing all kinds of trade. Trade will really cut down. If there's a world war, if there's a global conflict, and I do believe that that's what we're heading towards, trade will, I won't say 100% come to a halt, but it's not going to be nowhere what it is, not even remotely. And so once you take that into consideration, you understand that these businesses they speak of aren't going to need to worry about the SWIFT system or any other type of international financial system, because many of them won't be trading internationally. So all of this stuff, when you understand that once you go to war, there's a lot of stuff that changes. This stuff no longer really holds as much weight as it would during peacetime. So I don't get all the sanctions talk and all of that in a time of war talk. You know what I'm saying? It makes no sense. It actually, in my opinion, it shows weakness. But Biden hints at NATO-Russia meeting about Ukraine. So not gonna really go into that. I think there's another one. Here, Biden answers if troops will head to Ukraine. This is one I wanted to show you. So I don't think that he really actually even gives an answer here, and I'm going to show you why. They're going to tell you he did, but I don't think he did. I think he kind of walked the dog around the question a little bit. The U.S. moral and legal obligation to defend NATO allies if they come under attack does not extend to Ukraine, President Joe Biden said. The U.S. sending troops there unilaterally is not an option, he added. Now, I will read the next two paragraphs before I speak. Says, speaking with reporters outside the White House on Wednesday, Biden said he will not send U.S. troops to Ukraine in order to stop the allegedly imminent Russian invasion. That'd be stupid. That is not on the table. We have a moral obligation and a legal obligation to our NATO allies if they were to attack under Article 5. It's a sacred obligation. That obligation does not extend to NATO. I mean Ukraine, he said. He blubbered up. But what he said is, but it would depend upon what the rest of the NATO countries were willing to do as well. But the idea that the United States is going to unilaterally use force to confront Russia invading Ukraine is not on the cards right now, the U.S. leader added. So I want to make it very clear, he did not say that U.S. troops would not head to Ukraine. Nor did he say that U.S. troops will not head to Ukraine. All he said is that we won't do it alone. That's all. That's all. Is that we won't do it alone. So that's something to take note of. A lot of the language that has been said during all of this is very, very telling. Very, very telling. Here, article, Russia warns U.S. and NATO over reckless behavior. It says Russia's foreign ministry has handled the American embassy in Moscow a protest note over a series of incidents in which it said NATO aircraft endangered the safety of the country's airspace and the lives of civilians. The U.S.-led military bloc has moved from probing Russian borders with flights and dangerous maneuvers by naval ships to provocations against civilian aircraft, spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Wednesday. Moscow called for substantive dialogue on security guarantees and ways to de-escalate military and political tensions, but warned the U.S. it reserves the right to respond with all the means at our disposal to prevent and eliminate emerging threats. U.S. and NATO military flights are carried out without radio communications, flight plans, or air traffic control clearances, and pose serious risks to the safety of civil aircraft, the ministry said. The note handed to the Americans on Wednesday listed at least 5 incidents, including 3 just last week. On December 3rd, a CL-600 U.S. reconnaissance plane cut through the established civil aircraft route over the Black Sea while rapidly descending. Russian air traffic control warned the flight operated by Aeroflot, the country's largest carrier, which then changed its track instead and avoided a potential fatal collision, the foreign ministry said. So, and this stuff is, this is going on. This is what's happening. It's not good. It's just not. Let me have a sip of coffee here. Now, the last article I've got doesn't actually have anything to do with, the growing conflict or COVID. Thankfully, I thought this was a really telling article, and I had actually made a video earlier on it, and I never did put the video out because I needed to edit it, and I never did get it edited. So I'm just gonna kind of tell you now. So, Russians hate Gorbachev even more than Stalin, a poll reveals. Now, when I read that headline, it shocked me. It actually shocked me. Now, you have to understand my age here. I very well remember. I remember Reagan saying, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. I remember that. I was a kid. I remember that. It was very... very iconic, if that's the right word. And so I always had a positive, kind of view of the guy. I mean, he put an end to the USSR, right? That's a good thing, I thought. And let me read the article. This really got me. Because I sit there and I think, let me read it and I'll tell you. A brand new poll focused on the 30th anniversary of the fall of the USSR has revealed that Russian people see former President Mikhail Gorbachev as the most hated figure from the Soviet era, ahead of leader Joseph Stalin. Now, wouldn't you think that sounds backwards? I mean, if he put an end to the socialist regime, the communist control, right? Tore down that wall? Good guy, right? The study, conducted by the state-owned Russian Public Opinion Research Center, also discovered that cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, is the most beloved man of the Soviet era for the modern Russian citizens. Of the 1,600 people surveyed, 20% named Gorbachev as the most hated person of the Soviet era, far ahead of anyone else. Gorbachev led the USSR from 1985 until its collapse in 1991 and is seen as one of the most important figures of the 20th century history. However, while he enjoys a positive reputation outside of the country, he is viewed very differently inside Russia. Many people blame him for post-Soviet economic crisis that led to a dramatic decline in living standards, as well as a diminution, I don't know what that word for sure is. Diminution. I've never heard of that before. of Moscow's status on the world stage. And I sat there, and the rest of it goes into talking about other stuff, but I look at that, and I'm like, wait a minute. I look at our own country, and the United States isn't really well liked around the world right now. It's just, it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. However, as far as, like, say, a general outlook, you know, if you were to compare what other people in other countries think about Biden or Trump, you know, either or kind of thing, I think a lot of them would say that they like Biden better than Trump. Now, I know, don't throw stuff at me. You have to understand, you know, Trump offended a lot of people. That is what it is. So, even though here in this country, living in this hell that we are right now, people around the world might see what's going on as far as Biden being in charge instead of Trump as a good thing, as a positive thing. While us here in this situation are watching the economy just go to hell, and the entire country is imploding right in front of our eyes. Much like happened in the collapse period of Russia, 1991. So, you know, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily, or, you know, that's what's going to happen to it. But, I mean, it's just, it is an entertaining thought, well, not in a good way, but to think about that I wonder if we could be in this situation right now, and, you know, the fall of the United States, so to speak, and the rest of the country having a more positive view of Biden than us that live here. Just interesting. So, I don't know. Sometimes I think too much. Probably one of those times. Let me have a couple of sips of coffee, and we'll get started on headlines. There was a heck of a lot of those today. Fun times. I'm going to have to make some more e-juice in the next couple of days. Tomorrow, I've like done talked myself in and out of this like 3 times now. So I'm just going to go with it anyway. I'm a glutton for punishment that way. Because, see, I could leave it alone and not touch it, and everything's fine. There's nothing wrong, right? But not me. No, I got to screw with it. I told you when I bought that heater that the only thing I didn't like is that it's white. I wanted a red one or a black one, and it is what it is, right? But I've got a can here of flat black spray paint. So get this, tomorrow it's going to be a much warmer day. And I'm going to do a quick sand on the housing of it and spray it flat black instead of white. And then I'm going to pull out the vinyl cutter and I'm going to cut flames. And so it's going to be flat black with flames. Actually red and blue flames. I know. I don't have enough yellow. I don't have enough orange. So I'm stuck with red and blue. What the hell? So, I mean, I've got black. I've got, you know, I got black. Ooh, I could do, you know what? I'll have to, no, then I got to mess with the blade. Otherwise, I've got some OD green that would look really cool with the flat black. But then I got to sit there and fight with my blade on my cutter for like 2 days in order to get it the right depth because it's thicker than regular vinyl. So, but anyway, I'll do red and blue flames on it. And it'll probably look stupid. But hey, why not? Neat little heaters, though, I'm telling you. And if you're not aware of what I'm talking about, check down in the videos. You'll see it. I call it a Chinese diesel parking heater. Well, I don't call it that. Everybody kind of calls them that. A good SHTF alternative, especially for the apartment dwellers. Especially. Because you can set yourself up to where you can vent it outside and just from a window. 17,000 BTU of heat. Very efficient. Runs off 12 volts. Anyway, let's do some headline. Got a couple here from last night. Apple's secret $275 billion deal with China exposed. U.S. Senator won't rule out nuclear strike against Russia. Huh. Now, I get it. You know, it all depends on which U.S. Senator you ask as to their response on this stuff. I get that. But the mere fact that one's willing to go that far with their statement, that's a little bit unnerving. And I don't think that this, by the way, I don't think that this is just propaganda scare towards Russia. I don't think that this particular instance of this being said, I mean, he was on Fox News, and I know they spread propaganda on the news. I get that. But I just didn't get that feeling from that. I think he was just speaking. 900 plus U.S. professors blast efforts to abolish advanced math in schools to level the playing field. We're on the stuff I put out this morning now. Insane. So, I mean, you're literally punishing the smart kids, right? You're handicapping them. I don't mean that in a negative way, but that's what you're doing. It's crazy. They absolutely do not want people to be able to succeed. Do not want people to be able to do for themselves. Ukrainian president praises Nazi collaborators. Torah blocked in Russia. Japanese space tourists blast off to orbit on board Soyuz spacecraft. Bipartisan U.S. Senate decision over Saudi Arabia contradicts voters' wishes. Isn't that normal? France hits new record in daily COVID cases. I covered that. Another Latin American country legalizes same-sex marriage. A top Indian general on board crashed helicopter. Let's see. German MPs elect new chancellor after 16 years of Merkel rule. Just a little add-on to this. This cat is the first non-believer as chancellor. So it's a non-believer. And that's going to be interesting to see play out. I don't think in a good way. A U.S. sells Iranian crude seized on the high seas. Kyle Rittenhouse hits back at LeBron James after court ruling that angered Biden. Just told him stop being a bitch. No, that's not what he said. Would have been cool. Russia risks becoming appendage of China, says Bolton. 20 former students sentenced to death for brutal murder, whatever, on campus. Government blasted for lying about COVID lockdown Christmas party. China defends itself, claims nobody cares after Australian PM makes Olympics decision. Like we needed this. Pandemic made the rich richer and the poor poorer, says a study. You needed a study for that? Wow. I probably can think of a few studies I could do. Give me some grant money. Christmas tree set ablaze just outside Fox News headquarters. That's not very merry. EU chief joins liberals in urging West to copy U.S. boycott of Chinese gigantic propaganda. 5G related risk revealed, I guess dealing with aircraft safety. UK broadcasters ditch acronym for minorities as not nuanced enough. So, gotta nuance it some more. Biden to discuss Putin proposals with NATO, says Kremlin. U.S. Embassy rejects claims of Afghan-style evacuation from Ukraine. Bitcoin inventor claims multi-billion-dollar victory. Falsely arrested Khashoggi killer released in France, says the media. Russia sells more chocolate than world-renowned exporter. And they think it's the oil that they're... No. India's chief of defense staff confirmed dead in a crash. Finland PM apologizes after COVID-related mishap. Let's see, covered that. MPs come to blows over the budget. You know, that's one thing that I have respect for in other nations, is their politicians actually dot each other's I. We probably need a little more of that here in the United States. A Jewish journalist investigated for Holocaust tweet. It would be criminal for Russia to stand by and allow Ukraine to join NATO, says Putin. Hey, let's back up a couple. The only problem with that is here in the United States, if our Congress members were to go at each other, it would be turned into the WWF. They would definitely have, you know, the mat, and they would have the whole ring. They would have the stupid outfits, and yeah, you know it. It wouldn't be real. It would be just as fake as, well, you know, their governance. European gas futures soar as U.S. weighs sanctions on Russia. Oh, I missed this one. It would be criminal for Russia to stand by and allow Ukraine to join NATO. I'm pretty sure I missed that one. Obama Academy vaccinated child... Oh, covered that one. Sorry. World's largest COVID jab maker forced to have production. You know why? Because there's no demand. Huh. Imagine that. Top UK cleric blasts travel apartheid. Berlin tightens restrictions for homeless amid COVID spread. It was awful great of them, wasn't it? U.S. claims Putin wants to recreate the Soviet Union. And hey, by the way, Berlin, you know, that's just in time for this new chancellor, right? Just in time. That's something that they could celebrate his, whatever. It's ridiculous. It really is. Johnson responds to Biden boycott by revealing challenge to Chinese leader Xi. Is it Xi? I think it's Xi. Something like that. I don't know. I like to say UK's Johnson, because it is, you know, UK's Johnson. How's your Johnson? Going out in style. Converted Tesla hearse makes its debut. So that's right. Now, if you would like to cut down on your carbon footprint of your death, rushed energy transition could spark social unrest, says Aramco CEO. UK urged to get hate speech law to tackle extreme misogyny. Yes, that's correct. Insane. They actually want to be able to start... Now, I was warning about these hate speech laws when they were getting started. You know, they always make it sound good, but I knew what they were going to do. And I was bitching about the terrorism laws when they were wanting to change the definition of that, and when they wanted to add more laws involving that. Because it's like, you know, at some point, they're just going to deem whoever the hell they want to be whatever the hell they want. And that's all there is to it. And I think you're going to see it happening all across the world here real quick like. Biden hints at NATO-Russia meeting about Ukraine. Oh, I said that, or I talked about that one. New York gets $200 million settlement in opioid lawsuit. China approves first antibody COVID treatment. Russia wants to host Olympics, but decision will depend on politics, admits the sports ministry. Biden answers if U.S. troops will head to Ukraine. Boris Johnson advisor tearfully resigns. Oh, I already said that last one. Tearfully resigns over Christmas party scandal. PM Boris Johnson moves England into COVID Plan B. Never sounds good. Covered that one. Ex-NFL player died in U.S. jail after cops refused medical care, claims mother. Russia responds. I don't think I covered this one. Russia responds to U.S. claim it wants to restore USSR. Putin and Biden have unfinished business, says the Kremlin. Twitter suspends popular Ghislaine Maxwell trial tracker account. There's sometimes in life, I guess you just don't have anything better to do. Another man arrested after attempting to nail genitals to a popular landmark. Yeah, that's, we all once in a while, we're sitting around the house, we have nothing to do, we kind of have these thoughts of nailing our genitals to something, right? Holy cow. Let's see. I'm not sure, what? Oh, I'm not sure what you mean by, EYA, Laura. Let's see. A jihadist knife attack prevented by police. Russians hate Gorbachev. Oh, cover that one, sorry. 5 key takeaways from England's shift to Plan B. It was just an article that kind of went over what kind of condensed. Hillary Clinton shares intended 2016 victory speech. Bill Gates covered that, sorry. January 6th panel to hold ex-Trump chief of staff in contempt. Covered that. Nuclear submarine spies invoke Trump defense. Epstein and Maxwell pictured lounging in the Queen's log cabin. Well, I wonder what they were doing there. I mean, just not anybody gets to go hang out at the Queen's log cabin. And from my understanding, the picture that they're in right there, I guess there's a picture of the Queen in that very spot. So very, very, very privileged individuals. And it would make you ask, how is it that those folk could be that buddy-buddy with the Queen? Judge orders 11... Oh, covered that. And that was it. That's the headlines. Oh, okay. I guess somebody in the chat, sorry. Jen got my attention. I'm like, oh. So anyway, yeah. I mean, that is the madness that makes up our lives, right? It is insane. It is insane. 2 years ago, if you would have, well, we'll give you a little more than that. 3 years ago, if you were to tell me that we would be going through what we're going through right now, I'd tell you were nuts. And don't get me wrong. I knew trouble was on the way. I mean, I've been into prepping for over a decade. But to believe that it was going to fall that quickly and the way that it did? Wow. And at the same time, it really hasn't fell quickly, hasn't it? It's been kind of a slow rolling SHTF. It's almost been like torture. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be a fun time, but it's not going to be a non-stop battle all the time. And if it is where you're at, get the hell out of there. There are better places than that. In many instances, I think a lot of people, like I said earlier, just need to be reminded of how important other people are. People aren't quite as disposable as we like to write them off, especially in times like that. Remember what I've said multiple times about who it is that's important to you, truly important to you after SHTF. That's the people that's within walking distance. Alright? I guarantee you that most every one of us are friends on social media and stuff like that. I guarantee you a majority of them are probably not within walking distance. Think about that. People need to be planning and preparing more to get along with others than going to war with them. And I'm not saying that you don't need to be prepared to go to war. You absolutely do. Let's not be foolish. But I think people need to put as much time, if not more, into thinking about how to deal things in a more diplomatic yet safe manner. Probably be a good idea. Anyway, I am going to get out of here. I am a little tired. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow and we'll wrap up this week. Hope you all have a good night's rest, and I hope to see you tomorrow night. And as always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. Shalom.